Hey there everybody, hope your day is going well. Jared with Old Skulls Gaming here, and welcome back to another Wild Wednesday. So for this one, I was just searching for some random crap to see if I could find something. And someone who calls himself Again Barbarian just popped up. Well, actually, the first video was nearly an hour long. I already about quadrupled the size of the videos that I commentary on, so yeah, there's no way in hell I'm going to be doing that. But I did find this, well, much shorter one that's about 11 and a half minutes. So, I mean, and hell, it's called The Serious Sin of Video Games. So yeah, this should be an interesting one, to say the least. Let's get into it and see what Born Again Barbarian has to say.
1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 12 says, "All things are lawful unto me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but I will not be brought under the power of any."
And what? That's it? That's all you're going to read of, just chapter 6, verse 12, and then nothing else. Absolutely no context for what that verse leads into, which is the immorality of making sheet music with someone you're not supposed to. Such as a lady of the night. It does actually mention that. I was just looking it up myself. And what on earth does that have to do with video games? Or is this just like, you just open with an absolutely random Bible quote, you roll a D50,000, and then whatever number you roll on, that's the passage you read at the beginning of your videos? That would make more sense than having anything at all to do with video games.
In plainer words, as a Christian, you can do anything and not lose your salvation, but if you're going to do something that destroys you, you do well to stay away from it.
Such as randomly picking up a lady of the night and then paying for relations. I have to say it like this because I have to be careful about what I say on YouTube.
If you sin, if you live after the flesh, you will die. All right, I'll be talking more about that in the future. The wages of sin is death.
Well, the end of everyone is death. It's not as though the immortality gene has been discovered at all, so, well, eventually, everyone will die. You, me, whoever's watching your video, whoever's watching my commentary on your video. Death is the end of all things. Everything eventually dies.
All right, you mess around with sin, it's not good for you. So up comes the question, are video games sin?
No, they are not. They're simply a distraction, a time killer, a fun time, but a sin, like going against your God? No, I would definitely say not. I mean, hell, there are plenty upon plenty of games that are based on Bible verses or different people from the Bible, and like whatever happened to them, whether it be Noah or Moses being more famous ones. And yeah, hell, there's a lot. There is a lot of other people in the Bible. But, I mean, those are just the two most famous ones, and there are definitely video games of them. We're playing through them, and maybe... Because there are different ways to learn. If you want someone to learn the Bible, there are essentially 3 different ways. There are many methods going about the 3 different ways, but when you break it down, it's just 3 different ways, just different variations. The first would be reading. If you want someone to learn something, then have them read it. If they can't get a grasp on it, then you read it to them. It's an audio thing. They hear you talk about it, and then they learn that way. And if that still doesn't work, you show them a video, and then have the video, someone in the video explaining what you want to explain, just maybe with different words, and then someone can learn things that way. And of course, with that third one, video games would also be something else. Definitely not a sin. Wow, it's only 38 seconds in now. I've already commented, 1, 2, 3. This is now my 4th one. Well, 5th if you include the intro, but... Yeah. I'm going to try and let you speak unless I really have something to say, but... Wow. 11 and a half minutes in, still just under 11 minutes to go.
I've spoken against video games in the past, and I was a video game addict for probably 30 years.
Okay, what the hell do you mean addict? Video games are not an addiction, okay? There is nothing that you ingest into your body in any which way, shape, or form that video games do to alter you. Unless you're going down the path of, oh hey, did you know that the human mind can be addicted to anything? Yes, that's right, anything. To, clothes, shopping, people, exercise, food, and those are just the first 5 things that I can say off the top of my head. The human mind literally can be addicted to anything at all. But then that's just, okay, well, then ban everything, put everyone inside a bubble and just let them live out their lives without any outside interaction. Which would not be a good thing. For, well, many psychological reasons. So you were a video game addict for 30 years. In other words, you were screen locked. You couldn't take your attention away from whatever was happening on screen. Is that the fault of the video game, or is that the fault of you for not knowing how to control yourself? I'm gonna say you.
A lot longer than some of you have even been alive, some of my younger viewers, teenagers and early 20s. I was playing video games when you weren't even born. Okay, so don't talk to me about, well, you don't know what it's like, and you don't... Well, I will grant you, I don't know what it's like to play some of these new, more horrible, hideous, violent video games.
Yeah, well, the 90s called. They want some redemption for violent video games. Can you at least give some examples? Because, are all video games violent? No. Take any random Mario game, for instance. Is it obviously violent? The answer is no. There are, of course, plenty of fan theories saying that, well, hey, it actually is violent if you look at it from this perspective. Which, hey, yeah, there's that. But not all video games are violent unless you can actually give some examples. Because, yeah, there are definitely some violent video games out there.
I think that that's a much greater level of sin because there's such a high degree of realism. And again, well, then you can play old video games. Careful about that. But I'm going to give you another reason why you should stay away from video games from a secular author. This man right here, Jaron Lanier.
Oh, you mean the guy who essentially, well, more or less created VR, virtual reality? I mean, from what I was able to research in just the 10 seconds that I did a Google search on him, I don't think he created it all 100% on his own. He probably had a few hands to help. But what does he have to do with what you're saying? Well, I suppose I'll let you say so I can find out what you're saying.
Is the creator of virtual reality. Right there he is. He is not a Bible-believing Christian preacher by any stretch of the imagination. But this is what he writes. He's worried about people. I'll thank him at least for that. He's saying, hey, there's some real bad stuff about social media and about video games.
Okay, I will say this. People use social media in way too cavalier of a way, so to speak. People treat their social media pages like Facebook or Twitter or whatever the hell else is out there. They use them as a diary, just basically publishing every single thought that they have to the entire world. And that is not a good thing. But video games? Really? Did he actually say that about video games, or was it just social media? Because if he's saying that about video games, and he created the VR, wouldn't that kind of be a hypocritical thing? Kinda? Well, I do know that, like, Bill Gates just, like, keeps all his kids off of social media, period, just, like, doesn't allow them, like, too much technology because of how long people will just sit there scrolling through their feed and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and lose track of time. But again, is that actually entirely the fault of social media? Or is it the person not being able to control their own time? Because really it all boils down to time management. Like, hey, if you can spend, like, an hour or so, like, scrolling through your feed, and there's no negative repercussions to that, like, hell, maybe you're waiting for laundry to be done. Okay, yeah, spend a little time, looking at some funny pictures, or, like, maybe keeping up to date with your family. But I will say that I kind of agree that social media, in general, is not that good of a thing. Just because, like I said, most people treat it as their own personal diary. They don't have a single private thought anymore. Which is, yeah. Yeah, that's something. But anyway, I'll let you get back to it before I continue rambling on. Not even 2 minutes into your video. God damn.
Let's look at this. Where did video games come from? I mean, did all of a sudden somebody just came up with the idea and said, hey, you know what? Let's make games and make them digital, and we'll just have, the very first video games in Atari, and then Nintendo, and in television, and some of these others?
I would say it's more along the lines of someone, like, seeing a video game, maybe in an arcade, and just going, you know what, let's compress that down. Instead of a 70-pound machine, put it into a 3-pound brick. And then we can sell that brick to individuals and charge each person individually for a full price, rather than just, a quarter and you can spend some time until you die. One more quarter, spend some time until you die. Instead, we charge them $80 for the game, and then another $300 for the brick, and we make a lot more money, because as time goes on, we create a new brick, and then sell that to them, and we create a new version of the same game, and sell that to them. Or maybe that's just EA, that just keeps creating a new version of the same exact game, just slapping a different number on it. Yeah, but it essentially boils down to profit. And hell, everyone needs to make a living. Everyone needs to be able to put food on the table. And if someone says, hey, I can do this, and then market to a certain demographic, and make money off of that demographic. It's simple as that.
I was around in the old days, okay, so born in 1975. But it says here, page 11, the core process that allows social media to make money and that also does the damage to society is behavior modification. Behavior modification entails methodical techniques that change behavioral patterns in animals and people. It can be used to treat addictions, but it can also be used to create them.
Now, essentially, the way social media makes money is through advertisements, whether, like, some random company will buy, like, a bunch of spots and then broadcast it, well, like I said previously, broadcast it out to a certain demographic. And then, like, even if you don't click on it, the social media company has already made money. And if you do click on it, then whoever paid for that website has a bunch of ads and pop-ups and spam all over the goddamn place. And then they make money even if you don't click on any of those. Even if you just close them out, the fact that they popped up means the company who made that website makes money as well. And, goddamn, it was actually only about, because, I mean, hell, I've had my Facebook since, God, I don't even know when. I want to say 2011? 2010? somewhere in that range. Like 2010, 2011, I finally created a Facebook, and and it's only like it was only like maybe 6, 7 months ago that because I would be like looking through the Facebook feed and there's like 900 things I see, and not one is actually relatable to me. It was actually only, but like I said, 6, 7 months ago that I finally started seeing. Oh, hey, I can like this photo because I like what this post is talking about, and finally I'm seeing more and more of that. Despite me posting a bunch of things that I would be interested in, and the social media algorithm didn't learn for what, like 12, 13 years or more. Yeah, yeah. Essentially the way the algorithm wants to work is, hey, show you more things that you would actually be interested in, and then once that is patted down, they can get you to stay there more often and show you more things that you like and more things that you like, while also occasionally showing advertisements that someone else has paid for. And yeah, you can click on them or not. That's entirely up to you.
These things modify your behavior. I mean, when you are really concentrating on a game, does your behavior change? Yes, it does. Well, no, mine doesn't. Yes, it does. Don't lie to yourself. Okay, I would have been in your position. I would have defended video games to the death back when I was an addict of them.
Okay, first off, you utter moron. Does my behavior change when I play video games? No, absolutely not, because I am still me. Unlike you, I know who I am, and I am fully self-aware of who I am. I don't change just because I'm playing video games. And second, video games are not addictive, you moron. Let me tell you something, okay? As someone who is attempting to kick nicotine, there is an entire world of difference between addiction and distraction. Video games are distraction. Nicotine is addiction. Trust me, there is an entire world of difference between the two. Now, there is the term called screen lock, where people will essentially focus in on one thing, and really, it doesn't have to be video games. It can be TV, it can be books, it can be movies. If you are completely screen locked, that you have absolutely no awareness of your surrounding, well, you could get in trouble. Whether it's like, personal family trouble, or, well, maybe worse trouble because, oh crap, look at the time, I'm late for work. Like I said, addiction, distraction. There is a huge difference between the two. And if you are so heavily distracted by video games that you just can't tell about anything around you, then maybe you need to find a different game to play, one that doesn't require 228% attention.
Okay, that's the way addicts are. Well, there's nothing wrong with my alcohol. There's nothing wrong with my drugs. There's nothing wrong with my pornography addiction. I know when to control it. Yeah, you're an addict. Okay, just admit it. You're an addict. And see, here's my point that I'm going to continue. I'm going to show you the proof in this book. Video games were created to addict you, to modify your behavior. That's why they created them in the first place. So to say, well, it doesn't affect me, you're a fool.
Actually, the way I see it, the only fool in the room is you. After all, video games were created to make money. You don't enter the game unless we're talking about VR, but you essentially build up the game. You take control of the character, and you progress the story so you can learn things. Now, some games had absolutely terrible story writing. Some games had absolutely fantastic story writing. But in order to find out if the story itself is good or bad, you have to progress through it. Now, is that designed to change your behavior? No, absolutely not. if you are so weak-minded that something as insignificant as some flashing lights and pretty colors can change your behavior, the problem is not the video game. The problem is you.
The damage to society comes because addiction makes people crazy. The addict gradually loses touch with the real world and real people. Look at the youths of today.
Okay, that is not a problem of video games. Because, after all, if someone cannot tell the difference between reality and fiction, let's say they're I can't even think of a real-world example. But let's say if someone thinks that they can, jump off of the porch steps and fly, but then they end up, well, obviously they can't fly, so they end up falling, and, well, best case scenario, bruising or spraining something. Worst case scenario, breaking something. Is that the fault of the video game, or is that the fault of maybe the adults around that say, hey, listen, you need to know the difference between reality and fiction. And, sit down, talk to them. Hey, look, you cannot actually fly. I wish you could, but you can't. So, don't try that again. Yeah, hey, it looks cool in this story, or in this book, or whatever, video game, I guess. It might look cool there, but that's fictional. It's a completely fictional, made-up story.
When many people are addicted to manipulative schemes, the world gets dark and crazy. Addiction is a neurological process that we don't understand completely. The neurotransmitter dopamine plays a role in pleasure and is thought to be central to the mechanism of behavior change in response to getting rewards. This is why Parker brings it up. Behavior modification, especially the modern kind implemented with gadgets like smartphones, is a statistical effect, meaning it's real but not comprehensively reliable. Over a population, the effect is more or less predictable, but for each individual, it's impossible to say. To a degree, you're an animal in a behaviorist's experimental cage.
Okay, see, I see what he's saying. Okay, I definitely see what he's saying. Because he's saying, like, hey, what these devices do, whether they be smartphones or some other device, it can provide a prolonged distraction. Now, a prolonged distraction is not a good thing. Like, a little bit of escapism is okay, but if you let it take over, I mean, hell, there's been, a handful of stories. A handful of stories of people completely losing themselves into a state of, I guess you could say solipsism, where they just completely lose touch with all reality, completely cut off contact with all friends, family, loved ones, etc. And they just let themselves be absorbed into the world. Is that the video game's fault? No, that is that one individual in a handful of cases. It's not to say that everyone who plays video games, oh, you're suddenly an addict to video games if you play for even 5 minutes, you're an addict. No. No, because first off, video game addiction is not a real thing. And second, like, if things are starting to get that bad, someone should have the self-awareness to realize that themselves. Just, oh, hey, if you're, too distracted, you lose track of time. Because, hell, I will say that sometimes, yes, video games are, like I said, distracting, not addicting. But, of course, like, where I'm sitting, how I have things set up, I have my phone with the always-on display right in view at all times. So that way I can look and go, okay, I need to wrap things up, I need to save, exit, get ready for work. And so on. But even still, like I said, I do know video games are a distraction. So I do have several alarms set on my phone. Well, but not for the reason of video games being distracting. because I'm usually a very slow waker. If I have to leave my house by 9, then I have an alarm, well, my first alarm set for 6, and I have one at 7, one at 8, and then one more at 9. And that's, like, pushing it, like, hey, you need to be leaving the house right now. And that's partly just because sometimes I'm a very heavy sleeper, and it takes me a while to actually wake up. But that has absolutely nothing to do with video games at all.
Do you really want to be an animal in a cage being experimented on? Some people get worse, some people are better. That's why you think that you're okay, Well, I'm not as bad as so-and-so. You're still in a cage, animal. You're still addicted. It's still behavior. It's still, modifying your behavior.
Oh, really? And what was that for? If you are so weak-minded that a mere handful of social media posts can affect your behavior, you need to get the hell off the internet. I mean, hell, that's coming from someone who runs a YouTube channel, but regardless, even though I have, a full-time job and I run a YouTube channel, I still have some semblance of a personal life. I get out, I meet up with people, and maybe at a restaurant. Well, not a bar, because I don't drink, personal reasons. But the only reason I know when and where to go out is actually because of social media. So, you cannot say that social media is all bad, or that every single thing about it is like experimentation, like poking and prodding to see what you do when you're poked with a dull stick, a sharp stick, an electric stick, a fire stick. And more or less, the really roundabout way of the point I'm getting to is get out more, go experience the world, and look at things. Just look around and go, wow, okay, this is the world. This is where I live. Oh, by the gods, we're not even halfway through yours. Ugh. I'll try to keep my responses a little more brief from now on. Because, I've been sitting here for an hour. I'm not sure exactly how long the video itself is going to be at this point, but wow. Yeah, this fool, this moron, this dipwad. Ugh. I'm gonna be so glad to go back to video game theories next time. Unless, of course, someone suggests in the comments down below.
But the fact that something is fuzzy or approximate does not make it unreal. Originally, food treats were the most common reward used in behaviorist experiments, though the practice goes back to ancient times. Every animal trainer uses them, slipping a little treat to a dog after it has performed a trick. Many parents of young children do it too. One of the first behaviorists, Ivan Pavlov, famously demonstrated that he didn't need to use real food. He would ring a bell when a dog was fed, and eventually the dog would salivate upon hearing the bell alone. He didn't actually have to have a physical treat, just a sound. Remember that.
Yeah, well, Pavlov was a disgusting piece of shit. You do not... He tortured dogs, not just experimented on them. He tortured them. He deserves the rotten hell. Can you tell I like dogs? As for the behavioral thing, yes. Yes, that is something that happens. And honestly, it needs to change. It really does. It needs to be more like, hey, you did a good job? Well, let me give you a hug. Let me show you some affection. And then, maybe we can spend some time talking about something you like. And hell, it can be a video game, or it can be a book, maybe something that happened in a television show, a movie. Honestly, the reward should be more socializing, and instead of some kind of food reward. Because food should be a necessity, not a reward. That's just my personal take on it. But now, are you trying to say that because, like hell, take any random Zelda game. You open, Link goes and opens the chest and the sound plays, and it's kind of like, oh, it's an anticipation because this sound is playing, which means I'm going to get a cool reward for opening this chest, right? Is that the kind of BS that you're going on about now? Because if that's the case, then what about you and your behavior when bells ring, specifically church bells? You walk in there and follow everyone else like a good little zombie.
Using symbols instead of real rewards has become an essential trick in the behavior modification toolbox. For instance, a smartphone game like Candy Crush uses shiny images of candy instead of real candy to become addictive.
Distraction. Addiction. Two completely separate things. You don't believe me? Go look it up in the dictionary. I mean, hell, you're already reading the book, so I can... Well, at least I'm guessing you know how to read. So go look up both of those words in the dictionary, then come back to me.
Other addictive video games might use shiny images of coins or other treasure. Coins or other treasure.
And those coins, or other treasure, are usually made of gold. Are they going to say gold is addictive? Because it's actually very toxic to the human body, especially when ingested. The point I'm making is that gold has always been a desirable commodity. So it's more like, hey, this is treasure, this is a coin. And rather than going through the long explanation of explaining to you exactly what treasure is or what a coin is, just give it the color of gold and call it something that can sometimes be associated with the color gold, and then that's it. And that's it. Just because of the just being alive and essentially certain things that you would already know, just being born, you know gold has value. So if something is shiny and gold, hey, it's worth something.
Huh.
You gonna say something, or you're just gonna sit there with that bullshit contemplative look on your face? Okay, Sonic and Mario. Okay, so in Mario, the coins don't really do a lot. At least not initially. You have to gather 100 coins to gain an extra life, which means you have an extra chance to go and save the princess. Like, protect someone from danger. That danger, of course, being Bowser. And then in Sonic, the gold coins actually do have more value, because if you collect at least 50 of them, and I think it's only in the first few zones, or I forget exactly. There's only so many of those like emerald zone layer things. You have to have at least 50 coins for that to appear right near the exit. Then, once you spin the it's not a turnstile. It's, I guess, just like rotate the picture from Dr. Robotnik to Sonic. If you jump and enter the coin, you can enter the the Chaos Zone, I think it's called, where you get one of the Chaos Emeralds, and then something to do with those has something or another to do with I don't know. I honestly don't know what the Chaos Emeralds do, as I've never actually beaten any Sonic game. Maybe someday in the future, but as of right now, I haven't.
Yeah, I wonder about that. Those are old games and everything. Those are really old games. I didn't even play those. Yeah, but what are they using in the modern games? You get money, you get points, you get all these other things. You build up your weapons better and better, and you start out as a peasant. You eventually become a knight in shining armor and everything. It's rewards. And you become addicted to it.
You are right. It is rewards. Rewards for hard work. And again, it is not addicting.
It's designed to be addictive. Oh, but not for you, because you're somehow smarter than the the computer programmers of Silicon Valley.
Okay, so every time you've like tried to give examples on how video games are made addictive, I've shot them down. Because you said gold. Really? That's not a design to make things addictive. That's just a more of a common element that most people can understand. They just go, "Oh, hey, it's gold. It's valuable." And then like, "Oh yeah, now you get money and points and rewards and yeah, well, yeah, because you are progressing through hard work. It's not as though you just wave a magic wand and all of a sudden, oh, hey, here's the ending. No, you have to progress towards the ending. You have to get certain things done. And again, for the upteenth mother time, distraction, addiction. Two completely separate things.
And the behaviorists, psychiatrists, and psychologists and things that worked for hundreds of years and philosophized about how to get control of people. You see, you go way back to ancient times, leaders of countries they always had that desire to control people. And if you really want to get right down to it, Satan is the father of that. Satan is the one that wants to get control of you. And hate to tell you, video games are a good way for him to do that.
How? How exactly does I mean Lucifer, control people through video games? This I need to hear. You need to explain exactly how the devil controls. How does the devil control me? How does your devil control me through video games?
Well, not me. I can just play a game now and then, and I just walk away from it. You're an addict. Okay.
Oh dear gods, give me patience. Okay, let me explain something to you since you're so utterly stupid. Addiction means you can't walk away from it. You have to keep coming back because you cannot pull yourself away from it. Like, there are some cases, like with me, nicotine. Well, I have the patch, and it's working. It really is. Well, soon it'll work a little better because I'll need to go like from the 14 milligram down to the 7 milligram, and then go from there. But that's a story for that's a completely different story, because nicotine is an actual addiction. Video games are not. I can't name the game, but there is what I've been essentially what's marketing or teasing my audience with. I don't know if anyone from my audience is actually watching this. What would the term be? Let me know down in the description. Just basically talking about a Secret Sixth game. I mean, hell, I could be playing that instead of doing this bullcrap on you. But here I am, doing a commentary on your video. Why? Because I'm not addicted to the game. That's why. And you saying that someone is addicted if they just play for a little bit and then they can walk away and never come back, and you're calling them an addict? You obviously don't understand what the hell the term addict means.
When you know that something has been designed to addict you, just get away from it. Period. It's going to bring you under its power.
Okay, those words, completely out of context of everything else you're saying, I will agree with you. If something is addictive, get away from it because it's going to have you under its power. Because I have tried a few other ways to kick the nicotine habit. I tried hypnosis, that didn't work. I tried just like having hard candy, suckers, things like that. That didn't work. So now I'm using the patch and it's working. Partly because, hypnosis doesn't really work on me just because I think it's the subconscious. No, it's the conscious mind that refuses to relinquish control to the subconscious. So yeah, I'm just, I guess you could say I'm a little too thick for hypnosis to actually work. And then as for things like hard candy, suckers, and whatnot, it wasn't the same, not at all. Whereas nicotine patches are essentially a replacement, just like, okay, let's wean you off and make sure you're not like inhaling something that's burning, but you're still kind of getting a little bit of nicotine, and then start weaning you down step by step until you don't need anything anymore. And it's kind of at that point, it would be more of a mind over matter type thing. But yeah, that's nicotine, not video games. Oh, wow, okay. 4 minutes left in your video. Oh, this is... Wow, I wonder how much more I'm going to have to say, or if I'm just going to end up repeating myself. Because you just keep finding different ways to say the same exact thing.
It's just as simple as that. I mean, a cigarette. What good is a cigarette in your life? There's no good thing that can come from a cigarette. All right?
Yeah, but... And the thing is, I know that's true, and I knew that was true when I started. But it was more of an alternative. Because I knew I wouldn't do well in prison. And that's a long, long story for another day entirely. I do not want to get into that here. And the thing is, I think it's actually part of the reason hypnosis didn't work for me. Just because, right, oh, cigarettes are bad, cigarettes are bad, cigarettes are bad, cigarettes are bad. Every single day of every single year throughout all of goddamn grade school. I get it, cigarettes are bad. Can you shut the hell up? Actually, you know what? Screw you. I'm gonna start. Maybe that's why that the hypnosis didn't work, because I've been told time after time after time after time after time after time after time. Yes, I get it. Okay, it's bad. Shut the hell up. The more you tell someone not to do something, the more it makes them want to do it. So how about, oh, you're just gonna keep going on. Fine then. I mean, now, yes, I want to quit, and I'm taking steps to do that. But, like I was saying, I did watch, like, the first couple minutes of your video just to make sure it was good quality, and I will say your video is decent quality. I brought up nicotine because nicotine is an addiction, not a distraction.
None at all. I would say some fermented, alcohols and whatever else might be healthy if they're fermented properly and whatever, but you get the high level alcohol or the synthetically produced alcohol, what good is it doing you? Don't even mess with it. See? Use your mind. You think.
I do use my mind, and I do think. Unlike you, I know the difference between a distraction and an addiction. And if you can't tell the difference, then go ahead and play video games, but set an alarm. Just like, oh hey, I can only play video games until this time. So let me set an alarm, and then boot up the game, start it up, and then, yeah, you do have to know that, hey, once that alarm rings, save, close out, turn everything off, and go do whatever it is you need to do. Whether it's go to work, go to sleep, go eat. Because like I said, every once in a while you hear a story about someone who has essentially lost themselves to a fantasy and completely subjected themselves from reality because they think that the fantasy is real. Is it always a video game? No. No, there are plenty of other things that people get just like completely absorbed by. Now, is that now let's say it is a video game. Is that the video game's fault? Or is it the individual's fault for not being able to tell reality from fantasy? I would say it's more the individual's fault, not the video game.
I know most people won't. Most people just go on doing what they want and whatever else. But if you're a young man, don't waste 30 years of your life like I did. Realize that you've been scammed, that you're being experimented on as an animal in a cage by the behaviorist programmers out there that want to make a living off of you. They want to con you in to keep buying their product. And basically, quite frankly, you say, well, how does it work though? Because I only buy an occasional video game, so they're not getting rich off of me. Okay, but you're not posing any kind of a threat to them. That's the real issue here. You can program an entire populace of people to be just docile, servile slaves.
Really now, don't you think if people were being turned into mindless zombies, obeying the whims and the commands of those in charge, that they would notice and not rise up? Or, oh, maybe they wouldn't.
Young people that could rise up and take up arms against tyrannical government and take up arms against tyrannical systems, but they're too busy playing video games, thinking that they're winning when in reality they're losing every time they turn it on. Well, they're not controlling me because I just, I don't play them that much. And if you're playing them at all, they have you.
Wow, you sound like those dipwads at all the Dare programs that were around when I was in school. I'm not sure if it's still around, but I smoked just one joint and my life was changed forever. No, it wasn't. It wasn't the marijuana that changed your life. It was whatever the marijuana was laced with, because the marijuana was illegal. And now you are trying to sell this bull crap of just, if you do something just once, then your life will change forever. There are some things you can do that, even if you do just once, will change your life forever. Nicotine. Video games. One seems quite a bit more healthy to me, especially since there's addiction and distraction.
I mean, let's just think about this from what he said there, the behaviorists, they'd put dogs in a cage. What would you think if you're walking down the street and there's a whole bunch of cages and a whole bunch of teenagers in them? And some man says, excuse me, would you like to come on over here and spend some time in a cage? Well, maybe for a few minutes. I guess, I can get out. Oh, sure, yeah. As soon as you're ready, just come on here and just be humiliated in this cage here. You say, well, I wouldn't do that. You're doing it when you turn on the video games.
No, you are not. You are not putting yourself in some imaginary cave because you turned on a video game. Me, personally, if someone said, oh yeah, I'll put you in a cage for a few minutes, I would tell them where to shove it. Mostly because I'm slightly claustrophobic, but you're talking about two completely different things here. You're talking about caging someone or playing video games for an hour. Those are two entirely different things and have absolutely nothing at all to do with that piece of crap Pavlov. Okay? You have yet to definitively prove exactly how video games are addictive, because I've shot you down every single time. You've got... Oh, thank the gods. You've only got a minute and a half left, so let's see how much more BS you have to spout out.
Maybe it better just get to a point where you say, you know what? I'm done. I did. I grew out of it. I got to a point where I said, what am I doing? I'm wasting my time.
Wasting time is a matter of perspective. I mean, what kind of games are you playing? Are you playing ones that actually require you to think and strategize and then move your pieces in a certain way? Like for instance, are you playing to give you a comparison, because there are literally an infinite number of video games. Well, maybe not. I'm sure someone has like an actual number, but it's a very, very high number. Okay, and kind of similar with, say, board games. So, are you playing games that are more similar to chess, where you have to strategize and move your pieces in a very specific way, otherwise you lose? Or are you playing something like Chutes and Ladders, where it's just, push button, I move, ha ha ha.
And I used to justify, why? I listen to sermons while I'm playing my video games. What good was it doing me? Ruining my eyesight? Ruining my health? Ruining my brain?
Okay, bullshit. Okay, okay, you grew up in the 70s, maybe there wasn't as much TV on. There were TV was more of a scheduled thing. Oh, okay. So you're born in 75. First 5 years, the cognitive function isn't quite there yet. So, well, I'm just going to call you an 80s child. At least I think you said you were born in 75. I might have misheard. And I will fully admit that I could be wrong about that. But, essentially, you, grew up and developed in the 80s. And maybe a little bit more in the 90s, too. And I'm sure that, if the TV was on and you'd be sitting, 2 inches from the screen, your mother would try to say, "Oh, don't do that, you'll ruin your eyesight." That was debunked. Ruining your health? Well, yeah, if you're doing nothing but sitting there and eating junk food all day and doing nothing but playing video games, essentially being sedentary, that can be bad for your health. But the video games themselves do not ruin your health. Being sedentary ruins your health. You need to get up. Hell, even when I stream, every 2 hours, give or take a few minutes, it's honestly depending on exactly what's about to happen in the game. If I'm thinking, okay, I'm just about to wrap this up, about this mission, let me just wrap it up real quick, and then get to the home base I built. And, okay, now that I'm done, I'm going to need a quick 10-minute break. Or, hell, actually, a very recent stream, for me at least, it was, okay, well, I can see I'm heading to this building. It's a very large building. And, wow, there's a lot of rooms, a lot of places to search. So, I'm not going to go into that because I'm getting close to 2 hours. I'm going to take a quick 10-minute break. Just walk around a bit, exercise, stretch the legs, let my eyes focus on something else. Because I do not want to be sedentary. And as for the ruining your brain thing, studies have shown that people who play video games actually make pretty damn good doctors. Look it up if you don't believe me.
Get away from video games. They are sin. There's no question about that. And I apologize for ever taking too light of an attitude and whatever else. I didn't understand the full spectrum of the whole thing, and it did, and quite frankly, I was cowardly. I didn't want to come out and hit it too hard. I'm going to hit it hard from now on. Video games are a sin. You can't justify it. I mean, Silicon Valley, creator of virtual reality, Jaron Lanier, and he's telling you, yeah, the video games, it's about behavior modification.
Didn't he say it was social media that was behavioral interaction? Because essentially what social media does is say, oh, hey, just... Because, hell, anytime I bring up Facebook real quick, maybe to just, check on something or clear a notification or hell, because like I said, social media has been some good things. There's a few local community pages I'm a part of, and if I can answer someone's question, I will. If I have a question, I will ask, and I'll usually get answered pretty quickly. But as I was saying, anytime I immediately log in, the first thing at the very, very top of Facebook, what's on your mind? It's essentially inviting me to pour out all of my personal thoughts into a post, rather than keeping something to myself. And that is honestly part of the problem with social media. People are just treating it as their own personal diary and putting everything out, even things that really shouldn't be out. Like maybe the locations of certain birthmarks. Well, that's actually very low end compared to some of the things that happen on social media, but did he actually say that about video games? That is interesting, because I just did a very quick Google search, and the only thing he says about video games is talking about virtual reality. What he says about social media is that people need to stop using it so... not his exact word, but what I would say is people need to stop using it so cavalierly. Leave something for yourself. Leave something for the privacy of your family and your friends and your loved ones. Don't just put everything on blast.
I pray you take heed to my warning and you run away from video games. If you're not saved, you need to get saved and have the Lord help you get away from that addiction.
Your God, not mine.
If you are saved, you have no excuse. That's going to be it. Thank you for watching.
Oh, thank the good mercy of the gods that's over. Wow. I've been sitting here for almost 2 hours listening to this dipwad go on and on, but because something is gold, it's addictive. Wrong. Gold simply represents value, and it has since the time of the ancient Egyptians. When a vase would break, they would put it together, but they wouldn't mend it with glue or something. They would mend it with gold, which not only showed that, yes, something has a scar, but this scar has increased its value. Oh, because something is shiny, that makes it addictive. Again, wrong. Something shiny means something that you may need in order to progress. And not everything is shiny, it's all about color contrasting. After all, video games don't... Okay. I will say, there are a handful of cases where, yes, people do lose themselves to a way of solipsism, where they just completely get trapped in a fantasy world. They ignore everything reality-based around them. And is it for the achievement, or is it to become the best? And do they let themselves get lost in that solipsism because no one around them cares? Or because no one's taken the time to try and learn about it so that way they can say, hey, let's go try something else, and then we can come back to this. Not, hey, go do something else, you go do something else, then you can come back to this. There needs to be a lot more we in those 1 in 200 million cases. That's actually kind of low. 1 in 500 million cases. People need to stop saying, oh, you need to stop, you need to do this, you can't do that. Take an interest in that, in whatever it is, and say, hey, this is what you're interested in. Why don't you take a break from focusing solely on that and help me learn what it is and what it's about and how to do things. Like I said, 1 in 500 million. It's not as though someone plays a single game of solitaire on their phone and boom, you're addicted. That's not how addiction works. Because if you just play that one game of solitaire and never played again, according to this dipshit, oh, yep, they got you. You're addicted now. You're being controlled by the devil. Because of one game of solitaire. Obviously, he doesn't know what the word addiction means. As I said in the last Wild Wednesday, I wanted to do something a little different, just to bring some variety, not just only talking about Proto Mario and Pokemon and whatever. And as I said at the beginning of this Wild Wednesday, there was like a 1 hour thing. Yeah, unless there's a very, very high demand for that, I'm not doing that at all, period. Screw that. Okay, well, that is going to be it from me, at least on this Wild Wednesday. Yeah, next time, I don't know. I don't know. Honestly, probably Proto Mario, just because, well, yeah, okay, so, I have seen enough of Proto Mario's videos to know that he is very religious, but he doesn't use his religion as some kind of sanctimonious bullcrap to say, well, you need to do this, and you need to stop doing that. Yeah, but of course, if you have any suggestions, whether it be a certain Proto Mario video, or another video entirely, just drop it in the comment section down below. We'll give it a quick look and possibly do a Wild Wednesday on it sometime in the future. And I will see you there. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to smash that like button. Subscribe if you haven't hit the bell so you can always be notified whenever I upload another video. And of course, have fun.